Alright, so I'm losing my mind. We all know this. Maybe having gotten over 140 platinums in around a year actually does do something negative to the brain. Who would have thought? Which is why today I decided to platinum a very well-known game called Crysis. And I did it on the PS5, but, can it run Crysis? Get it? Get it? Okay, you probably don't. Crysis is an absolute classic of a game coming out all the way back in 2007, which, fun fact, I would have been a ripe 2 years old when this game first dropped. So, yeah, I missed my chance to play it on launch. I know, I'm a failure. Anyways, the developers behind it remastered all 3 of the games a few years back, and thank God they did, because doing that also ripped out the online trophies for these games, making my job to getting the platinum so much easier. There's a total of 41 trophies inside, including the platinum, and the difficulty rating for this game is very, very easy. In fact, you can actually platinum Crysis in one sitting, which is both hilarious and also mind-bending, because getting all the difficulty trophies makes for some reasonably anger-inducing moments. This is also a part of my challenge to platinum pretty much every single notable single-player game that I haven't already before I hit 800,000 subscribers, because I have no life, so make sure to drop a like and subscribe. But stage 1 up 2 is just beat the game on Delta difficulty. There isn't any collectibles inside or missable trophies, which hearing those both in a pair is better than the Kim K Megan Fox combo, I'm not gonna lie. The game first opens up with a plot-setting cutscene for us to enjoy. Essentially, we are a part of US Special Forces and are diving into a group of islands that has very unusual heat signatures on it that shouldn't be there. And also, since we are American, we just assume it's the Koreans because, you know, well, it was the times. So our mission to begin with is to find the Koreans and make sure they have a crisis. Get it?
Do me a favor.
Anyways, as we were falling into the world, I got swooped out of the air by something, and the creature, or whatever it was, ripped the good old parachute. But since we have on this high-tech suit, we are apparently fine falling from this high up. Understandable. Have a great day. It's now time to regroup with everyone because pretty much all the people on our team landed in different areas, and that's just expected. We are the US Special Forces. I did have to fight my way a little bit to my first teammate, and we were just gonna ignore the fact that I died in the first enemy. It's, you know, a little bit hard getting used to a game that's almost older than me's combat. I'm not sorry. But I did end up reaching my boy, who was just a hop, skip, and a fall across the beach. I don't know why he couldn't have helped me out with the enemies, but it's fine. He's probably gonna die at some point in the story anyway. Now that we got one homie back, however, it's time to go find another one of ours who was actually in trouble. And as we got near the brother, we heard gunshots and screaming in the distance, only to walk up and see that everyone is now dead. Kind of expected this outcome after the sounds, I'm not gonna lie. But then we were set free into the world, pretty much able to go anywhere, and I ultimately decided to just hop in a vehicle and run away from enemies as much as I could, because this game's hard difficulty is nothing to laugh at. I was also doing these little side missions in yellow on the map whenever they became available, because you have to complete all of them for quite a few trophies throughout the game's entirety, but they usually just had us go into a tiny outpost and turn on something, and that was it, so no controllers got sacrificed today. And finally, after 30 minutes of gameplay, we ended up regrouping with everyone, and it was at a ship that was frozen atop of a mountain. Looks like they had a little trouble parking. That's not my joke, the game did it first, I'm so sorry.
Oh my god!
Oh yeah, before the ending of this cutscene, one of our homies legit got ripped from the fabric of time and is definitely not doing okay wherever he is. God bless him. The next trophy I got was then actually from a side quest completion, and it popped after I cleared out some enemies atop this structure right here, and from finishing 3 of these total so far. I then had to make my way through a town that was jam-packed full of enemies that were all decently high leveled, or I guess they just had lots of gear on them. I decided to do stealth in it, by the way, because I'm against getting touched without consent, and I made it to the building they needed me in. Me and Homedog broke down the door, and honestly I just watched him rizz up this girl. Wingman of the year right here. But after saving that scientist lady that's actually super important, we ended up getting blown up by tanks for a hot minute or two, and I might have died here, just maybe. But the best way to get rid of them is to actually go to a different building right next to us, since it has more weaponry and missile launchers for harassment purposes. This chapter then ended off with us just making our way upriver to regroup with Prophet, who is the big dog as we say on the team, and here's that trophy. We also traveled through a cave or something and made it to a new area of the island, and almost right away there was a giant research station set up that I had to sneak into. And boy oh boy, sneak I did, because they didn't even spot me and I got a trophy from entering the place. Once inside the area, we also watched all invisible like with our cloak suit as this scientist guy tried explaining to the evil people on the screen that something isn't right here. Unfortunately, however, our suit would run out of power and the cloakness broke, so we kind of just awkwardly stared at each other until the thing next to us literally blew up, so that's great. But instead of an actual fiery explosion, it was just ice and coldness like her damn heart, that bitch. I then literally had an objective of traveling all the way down this river to the end of the map for exfil, and I honestly thought this game was over. I think I'm retarded though, because I've only been playing for like an hour. But at the exfil spot, I had to clear the AO as they call it. And on first glance, it looks pretty clear to me. There isn't anyone here. Turns out the enemies managed to clone our cloaking tech, and this fight turned from confusing to just hard very fast. Mostly due to me getting two-shot by these people and also not being able to see them until I'm getting shot. A great combo, not gonna lie. Naturally, I did fail or die a lot here, but eventually, like all things, I figured it out and finished that chapter of the story, which also ended Act 1 of the story in its entirety, and I got 2 trophies. First for just the chapter's finish, and then another for doing Act 1 on Delta difficulty. Now that's hard. We then went to a different area of the islands that was getting completely bombarded by enemies and aliens at the same time. A good little mixture if I do say so for myself. But after some cutscenes that were setting up the plot for this chapter, I was just running to my objective as you do, and I ended up getting a trophy from running 3 kilometers in the game called Marathon Man. The math isn't adding up, but that's okay. I'm also stupid, just like this game. It's meant to be. A bit later in this chapter, I also ended up at a harbor, which was kind of sick, but on it there was a ton of AA guns, and that seems a little bit odd to have here, so I just destroyed them all because a harbor is meant for ships to come in and out of, not AA guns, silly, and here's a trophy from doing that. I then turned off or turned on something on the ship. I can't really remember what exactly I did here. I think this girl was mad at me on the phone call I was having. My apologies. But then I did direct an airstrike right onto the ship, and it blew up and sunk, which also gave me a trophy. The next chapter then began after I ran away to it, and this one was by far the hardest yet in the game. You take control of a tank, but the thing literally almost blows up from the smallest man's gunfire because we are on the hardest difficulty. So it's very, very safe to say that my tank was getting abused along with me. I died a lot. Really wish there was a death counter because Lord knows I ain't going back to count on my own failure. That's like losing twice. Come on now. However, thanks to me spending so goddamn long here, I did end up getting a trophy from destroying 5 enemy tanks total, so that's nice. And I actually got another one called Long Distance Relationship from getting rid of an enemy from over 200 meters away. And fellas, I hate to say it, but long distance relationships just don't work. It's psychology. Then again, I did get a trophy for us, so maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about. This tank mission, by the way, lasted all the way up until we reached a train that was so conveniently parked right in our way. And I actually got a trophy called Empty Platform from securing the train station, which was easy because I had a tank. And another one called Without Question right after from completing my 6th secondary objective in the game, and I'm feeling like a god right now. And the tank mission actually wasn't over because we had to keep using them in the next area after the train blockade. I actually forgot this already because the trauma from it was just too severe for me to remember. But I would end up getting a trophy after getting out of the tank from running to the mining complex and getting the hell out of here. Whilst in the mining complex, I also got a trophy from completing every single side objective in the game. Turns out there was only like 10 of them, so that's easy, and here's that trophy. This mission, by the way, had an insanely hard combat section against a ton of super soldiers and stuff, so I spent a long time here, and it was very frustrating, I'm not gonna lie. But I did get a trophy from killing 200 enemies total so far. Shout out to the 5 I have been dying to over and over. I love you. I would also end up getting a minigun from that combat section, and it turns out that that minigun in this game is like God's right hand. Just does all the work and destroys enemies like butter. So I took it all the way to the end of the level and got a trophy from finishing it right here. And as the trophy suggested, we are now going underground to link up with the evil people because they are indeed down here doing evil things. Sadly, we got caught right away when snooping and then forced to watch as the evil general dropped the other lead scientist dude and then went ape crazy mode, forcing us into a boss fight against him. But the fight was actually pretty simple. You just had to grab some guns conveniently laying right next to us and then go invisible until he had to reload. And of course, then unload everything into him until the poor guy dropped to the other side. Oh yeah, we got a trophy from that, of course, as you would expect. The entire place then started to fall apart because the alien things down here are really upset that we crashed their bar mitzvah, and the lady scientist next to me suggested that we just take this elevator to get up and get out, but it got stuck immediately. This is the last time I ever listened to a woman in a crisis. Get it? Get it? Crisis. But thankfully, our homie flew down a ship almost to us and had some guy in a rope help her get out. And I guess the rope wasn't strong enough for all of us because then they legit just left me down here. You guys too, I hope you crash. Side note, the elevator started falling down right after, so this is kind of awkward, and I got a trophy to heal me inside. I did end up making my way into the aliens' base, or ship, I guess, that they have under the mountain. And the gravity also turned off, which is definitely something. I was very confused at this point, so I just started touching my gun and got a trophy from that. And this chapter then just kind of had us try to escape the aliens' base the entire time while it's getting chased. It was a bit scary, I won't lie. But once I made it to the exit and got flushed out, essentially, I got a trophy, and we are so back. Next chapter, we are now outside with Prophet, and the dude found some alien gun that he gave to us because he is like dying from the cold or something a weak man dies too. But the rest of this chapter then had us dead ass running from fire to fire to keep warm as flying aliens fly at us from the sky to end our existence. God, 2007 was a simpler time. Please take me back. Oh yeah, here's the trophy from that chapter once we ran away enough times. The next chapter was then a pretty cool one, although also very annoying. But long story short, the aliens are absolutely everywhere, and even with heavy artillery, I still found a way to get taken out by them, and I'm officially thinking I might just actually be bad at video games. But it ended with us getting in a VTOL to exfil out, and our squad leader pulled a classic sacrifice to let us get away. Rest in peace, you mad lad. The following chapter was then very cringe and had us drive a plane that for the life of me just would not fly the way I wanted it to, and hopefully this clip of me in a tornado can sum my flying experience up today. I'm never using American Airlines again. What the hell? That's what I'm saying. Eventually, we made it back to the carrier on the sea that had all the boys directing the mission on it, and, you know, after some deliberation, we dropped a nuke on the island, so, turns out that made them stronger. It's stereotypical, I can't lie, but probably revolutionary in 2007. So yeah, final boss fight time against the aliens. At first, I was being dumb and thought I had to wait for something to happen, but this first part, it turns out you just shoot and keep on shooting until that thing dies and we get a trophy. The next one, though, did require some timing because that lady scientist was doing behind-the-scenes things to disable the aliens' armor and stuff. It was kind of sick. Would have been a lot more fun, though, if I could have not been harassed by aliens while trying to lock on with this dumbass launcher, but it's okay. I ended up taking out that big boss alien, and in good fashion, the trophy popped, and we watched some cutscenes as all the other aliens ran away like pussies back to their so-called island they love so much, which also went underwater, I think. I don't know what the hell that ending was, but I got multiple trophies for beating the game, both because of just doing it and the hard difficulties. So now it's time for stage 2, naturally, as you would expect. This stage consists of a lot of combat trophies, and that is actually all it does because there isn't any collectibles, so that's a major W. First, I had to replay one mission for a mission-specific trophy, and it was on that tank one since I died so many times. Before going after the missions trophy, though, I got one from destroying 5 helicopters in the game, which is easy, but on the hard playthrough, I didn't even attempt this because I would just end up dying. Anyways, the missions trophy is from just finishing the entire mission using the same tank, which is honestly not hard on easy difficulty because it's, you know, easy, so I did that first try, and now I hate tanks. I then got a dumb trophy from picking up a chicken, which is something you can do in this game, and I love it. You can literally kill an enemy with a cock. How much better does it get than that? I then grinded out this trophy from grabbing 20 enemies total. Grabbing is a feature a lot like takedowns in Call of Duty, except you can grab an enemy from any angle and then just throw them. It's quite glorious, to be honest. And I did get 20 enemies grabbed shortly after beginning my touching journey. I was also doing all of this on a very specific level because it had both the super enemies I needed for a trophy and this certain rifle for 2 of them that I got right here. First was from equipping all of the attachments in the game, and this is the one gun I never touched. And the second was from getting a kill with every weapon in the game, and since I hadn't used this one yet, it made the trophy very easy to get without having to worry which weapon it could have been. I then just had to grab objects and kill 10 people with objects, which is almost as funny as the grab and throw trophy, just not quite on the same level. I also finally managed to get 400 kills total, which is the last kill count trophy I needed to get. And then I had to play this level out to the ending because it was that one level that I had to fight against a ton of invisible super enemies near the exfil spot. And I had to kill one of them with my fist because this game hates us. But thankfully on easy, it's not really that much of a feat, so here's that trophy. I then replayed the first level to get my last 2 trophies. First of which was from killing 5 enemies without being seen, and this is actually really hard to do because enemies get alerted over like you breathing pretty much. But on the first level, they have them all on the retard setting, so it's not a challenge to do this. I also then just had to mark 30 enemies with the binoculars. A tool more useless than something. I can't really think of an analogy right now. But you just have to stare at 30 enemies like you'd expect, and eventually the trophy will pop with the platinum right after. So that was the Crysis Platinum Trophy experience. Overall, this game is a lot of fun, and it kind of feels like a fever dream at the same time. Very interesting combo, not gonna lie. But putting it in out of 10, I'm gonna give Crysis a solid 7. Only complaint is it was too short. That's what she said.